how would I modify that? So looking at our file management program, I have also given to you, if you look at the assignment description, I have added to that file. I'm going to make sure that you do see that. If you look at the assignment description in the assignments song display, in the assignment description, let's see if it shows up there. Yes, I have, what I did is I found a piece of code. I didn't go to ChatGPT, but I did an internet search, and I searched for reading file contents. So you are welcome. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to take this subroutine definition. I can Control-C, copy it, and then I'll start up my application, and I'll paste that into it. So let me start up Studio. Not OBS Studio, Visual Studio. And I will go to my recent file. And I'm just going to copy that, and then I'm probably going to have to fix it because, well, let's see. Down here towards the bottom. I'm going to add this at the bottom. Put a little comment in here. Code from added advice regarding file listing. Reading a file listing. Paste the code. Now I'm going to have little red squiggles. Oh, not too many red squiggles. This I get a red squiggle because I do it because I don't have a list box defined. Otherwise, it's responding to a button 2, and I don't have a button 2 yet. So it lets me call it button 2, but notice here another red squiggle. I don't know what button 2 is. So in order to use this code, I need to have a button 2 defined, and I need to have a list box defined. Otherwise, it looks like it's going to work. Let's see if it works, and then let's examine the code. So I'm going to go to my designer, and I'm planning to add a button and a list box. And I'm going to add them down here towards the bottom. Because I know I might be adding more things. I don't think I need to make it so wide. Well, I think I'll leave it like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see, in my tools I'm going to add a button, and I think let's see what name it gets. Oh, it already gets button 2, and let's choose a list box. Let's drag him over there and put him there. Actually, I think I can put him next to the button since he's related to the button. His name is listbox1, and I'll go with the default names. I'm going to make them wide just in case I get a long file path. I initially got a real long file path, but I fixed some code for you. So a button 2 and a list box, and remember why I added them is because this subroutine wanted to refer to a button 2, and I'm guessing that until I save it, he doesn't know what button 2 is. Let's do a Control-S, and now button 2 resolves to an existing button, so the red squiggles go away for that. And now the reference to a non-existent listbox1 is no longer red squiggled because saving the design created that listbox1 in the declaration of objects available to me. And let's just see. I'm going to turn off my sound there. Question, Eli?
Did I wait for a call?
Is it what?
Did I miss a class or something? I'm missing like just a lot of that.
Oh, I did add some things
Okay.
as I was playing with this. I added extra since last class. So we can go back to that. But the main code I want to look at here, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see the full code. I went and did a search, and basically here's the kind of searching I did. I did a search. I could have done ChatGPT, and you are welcome to use that. I'm so used to doing searches, I'm not yet dependent on ChatGPT. But I just did a search of Visual Basic file reading listing read and display. And I found some example code. I played with it a little bit and got it to work, and then I copy pasted what I got to work into here. And look at that, I even kept track of where I found things as I came across answers. So let's walk through the solution that I found by just doing a search on my own. The textbook had your basic open a file, but I'm thinking, I want to in my listing here, I want to get a listing of what files are available so I can click and display them. And so I searched for, how can I just list the files? Well, I found out how to do it, and since I do have some little background, I kind of understood what I needed to do. So let's take a look at what this is. The only reason I have this is because I saw an example that used this my.computer.filesystem.get files, and I thought, wait, can't I just do give it a list of strings? Can I just get a list of file names? Well, file names is a special thing, and I had to do a little digging, and I had to declare file names. Although I should actually give it a name, collection. It's a collection of strings. Now you don't have to worry about understanding the details so much of collections, but you can see that in my example that I found, they did a loop using this strange structure. They did a loop of for each file in a list of file names. This is a very powerful way to do a loop. I have a collection of file names, and I can do a loop for each, and this is a string. Is that a string? No, that is a, yeah, that is, I think that is a string. Yeah, a found file as a string. Yeah, found file is declared as a string in my loop. So this for each is a new thing. So some ways to learning code: learn a new for loop syntax from example. This is probably one of the biggest challenges in programming. Is you see how somebody else did something, and they're doing something completely new you've never seen before. A string for each found file as string in this file names. And you stare at that and think, wait a minute, what is going on here? Well, you can go do a little research, or just say, well, if a file names has been declared as a system collections object model read-only collection of string, then I can do this with it. So this is probably the most confusing part. Why did I have to, and how in the world should I know how to declare this a file names as a system collections object model? Well, best way I could say is, well, since they did it that way, that's how we're gonna do it. Even though I may not understand all the details about how a collections work, I kind of have the idea that if my found file is a variable, is a string, and a file names is a collection, I can do for each found file in that collection. So I learned the syntax. If I ever want to do this again, I have to have with a collection, I'll call it collection 1, collection, I'll call it example. I can do this for each, call it a string var as string in, and then there's my collection example. Now, to know where I can use a collection, well, that came here, that this collection is this long type of variable, system.collections.object-model read-only collection. And remember, the way I came across this was reading the search results of how to read a string. and they gave the code was pretty clean. I just do this, and this is what they was in their example. From this, I realized, hey, if I have a collection of files instead of just reading the folders from the My Documents folder, if I want to actually be able to read what the listings of files are over in that directory 2 levels above in the Books folder called Awana, and notice I changed Books to Songs from the, we were looking in Songs, I changed that to Books just because that's the name given in the other application. If you want to keep the Awana folder in the Songs folder, you want to have that named Songs. Okay, so I declare a file names now is a collection because this returns a collection, and that's what I want to use to get a listing of the files in that location. So let's put a little comment there. This will give me a collection of file names found in the path. And at first I leaned it to the wrong direction at first and my code wasn't working. What I can do with this now is I have a name of the file is going to be given to me as I go through. Think of going through each element. I'm traversing the collection. That's essentially what I'm doing here. Traversing, that means going through the list. That's found in the A file names. I'm traversing the collection. And now we come to another piece that I figured out just by experiment. Although I did get initial information from here, I realized from that example that if I have a structure called file, in this case I named it struct file info, I can find out the actual name of the file rather than the complete path of the file. And this gives me the name of my file. So I'll put in my comments here is use this to get access to the base name of each file. So this gives me the name of each file found in this directory. And I'm giving you the code that gives you, first of all, a collection. I've given you an example of using that collection in a for loop for each name of the file as string in A file names. And I'm going to give this a better name. I don't like found file. Since I'm going to remind myself that is a string, I'm going to right click, rename that, and I'm going to call it stir. Oh, why isn't it letting me rename? Stir, there we go, stir F name. And notice I can rename, and every variable, every reference to that gets a new name. Great feature of Visual Studio. So the name of my file is what I'm giving to get file info, and then I know that from the structure file info dot name, the dot name part of that structure gives me the name of the file. If I want to find out what else is available, I think I could come down here. Could I click on that? I can. It looks like I click on file info, and let's see. I'm guessing it's going to take me to a website. Oh no, it takes me to the. Ooh, that's hard to read. Don't worry about wanting to read that. That's scary stuff. But you're welcome to take that. I guess I could go online and look for file info. Digging through the actual definition of a file info, that can be really scary and intimidating. But you may learn something about how to read that. But don't worry about needing to understand all that. That's lots of extra details. I was hoping it would take me to a website explaining what file info does for me. So basically what you know is using this example, getting the file name, or getting the structure given a file name, I get info about that file. And now, not only can I get the info, let's see if another way to see what I can get is just put in a little example code. Just do struct file info and then type dot, and the autocomplete shows you what's available in the info file. Here I can actually get the directory name that file lives in, which would give me the long path. I can get just the extension of that file to see if it's like a .txt. I can get the full name. Oh, I can get whether or not the actual file exists. Perhaps I'm trying to open a file and somehow somebody gave me the name of a file. Before I try to read from it, I might want to check that it exists rather than catch where the existence of it in a try catch. Access control, ooh, lots of information that I don't know if I would ever care what the hash code is of a file, but apparently I can get the hash code. When it was created, I'm assuming is in there. When it was last accessed, the last time it was written to. Lots of information about a file if I wanted to do that. And look, I even have a open read. I don't know what that means. If that means I can find out if I'm doing something or find out what it gives me. But all I care about is, in this case, I'm using the name, but if I wanted, I could get the directory name. And that's a great way to actually explore what is available in that mystery structure that I'm just seeing in a piece of example code somebody gave me. Now let's see how this works, and then this is your challenge. Can you, from what you see here that works, can you fill a list box with the names of the files? Let's see what happens with what I do here. Let's go run. Here comes my application. Let's click button 2, and it crashed. Why is that? Let's see. The path doesn't exist. I ran this on a different computer and I realized I had renamed songs to books. I can either go in my folder structure and rename it to songs, or rename songs to books, or I can stop my code and fix this, and I realize the name of my folder was songs before, and it is songs now. Let's browse over to that folder and verify. Browse over to where my application, or actually I don't have to browse over there, I can browse over here, right? I have my Solution Explorer, can I see my bin folder here? Maybe not. It's my bin folder. I guess I can't explore into my bin folder unless I'm exploring in the wrong way here. I don't use this Explorer much. Show all files. There it is. There's the bin folder. Hey, there's the songs folder, and there is the Awana folder underneath there. So yeah, bin songs Awana. So yes, I had to switch it to File Explorer rather than the Structure Explorer version. And I don't need to see this window anymore. Okay, so changing the name of that folder to songs instead of books. Now I think it should work. And I'm going to put this all caps because it just irritates me that it isn't case sensitive. Maybe there's a switch you can say, make your file searching case sensitive. Now let's run it and see what happens. Should find the folder now. 2 folders up. And look at that. I am able to fill list box 1 with all the files that I found in that folder. There's only 10 of them in there? I thought we had more than 10 songs in the Awana folder. Let me go check to see if this has given the proper list. I am going to bring up the File Explorer now and browse over to my project. And let's go into my file processing. Bin songs Awana. Oh, yeah, there are only 10 songs there. I thought I had more in there. I know I have more in my other version. Maybe I only copied 10 of them over. Okay, so I am getting that listing of files in list box 1. Remember right now, what happens here when I click display? It opens Awana file number 1, and I can list each verse. That part is working. What I want to do, instead of just file number 1, I want to list the file names and maybe even have multiple folders listed in this list box. But I'm thinking maybe I only need to fill this file, with the, instead of a number, just have the file name be there. I don't see that a problem with the name of the file being there. But I got one little problem I see is I don't need to list this awana.ini. I'm wondering, is there a way to only have the text files listed? The next thing I want to do is if I select one of these and then click display, have that file be displayed with every verse. So I'm thinking this, instead of just I'm thinking of maybe for now, I'll leave file number there, but then add a second one that's going to be the actual file name, and maybe just use the file name that's selected. When I click display, it'll display that file name. So let's go add. Oh, got the little error. I'm going to close the design view, design view, designer, and it comes back. Let's add. I'm going to leave those here as button 2 and list box 1. I'm going to add a list box, and I'm going to give him a name, LST file name. How about that? So let's go here to his properties, give him a new name, LST file names, instead of file numbers, because this one was called LST file number, LST file names, and I'm using singular there. I'm going to use singular here too. File name singular. He needs a label, so let's put in a label for him right next to him, and how do I change his text? Why isn't that? Oh, there's text. Text is going to say file name with a colon. Let's adjust that so we're not tromping on each other. So that's going to be my file name. In your styling of your user interface, you can choose labels left or right of a box instead of above it, but I'll go with above it for now. So now the list box name is LST file name. Now when I click button 2, not only do I want to fill list box 1 just as my debug, how about we add each element to list file name. So let's go down back to that button 2. We'll eventually make this happen, maybe just when we load our form. But for now, for testing, I'm thinking we'll have it happen when we click this button. So come back to this button. We know this button is working. It's filling in list box 1 with items of the file name. But let's, in this loop, and let's think of what we want to do here. To follow these instructions, what I'd like to do in this loop is to add items to my LST file name, but I think I want to skip anything that's not a .txt file. So add name to LST file name only if it ends with .txt. And again, this is as you're coding, you start working on projects, in your own projects, thinking, I want to do this. How do I do this with strings? How do I tell whether the name of my file ends with a .txt? Well, do you remember what we saw when we were exploring the struct file info? Let's look at if and I want to have it compared txt is equal to, and remember that struct file info has a dot extension. Let's see what happens if I hover over that. That gets the extension part of the file name, including the leading, oh, it does include the leading dot. It'll give me an empty string if no extension is present. Okay, so I'll just add the leading dot to .txt. So that's what I want. If .txt is equal to struct file info extension, then, well, I want to add it just like I did up here. Instead of listbox 1, it's going to be lst file name items.add. And I will add, do you want to add the full, do we need to add the file with the extension? I guess I could. Maybe, or let's see, is there a way to let's do struct file name, struct file info, dot, let's see, I have name, open, I have extension full name directory, is list time link for me. Name gives me the extension. I don't see anything that just gives me the base name, like without the extension. So I could do a substring, or I'm going to be lazy. I'm just going to give the full name in there. Make sure it works, and then maybe come back and figure out how could I ignore the extension. Maybe leave that a challenge for you. Let's see if it works, and then we'll come back and see if we can ignore the extension because it just adds noise to the display. And it'll be a good little programming puzzle solving practice. Here's my code. Let's see now. This fills in my file names. Uh-oh, nothing ever got put in there. Apparently, because they're all capital and the file name is never equal to lowercase txt, or the extension is never equal to lowercase txt. Well, what could I do here? I know that Windows will accept both the uppercase and lowercase extension. Can we do a lowercase, compare lowercase of this, which is a string? Let's see if I can do a dot after extension. Since that's a string, can I do a to lower? Yes, there is a to lower. And I hit tab or hit enter or tab, yeah, to lower. Now I'm going to make sure whether or not if it's uppercase, I'll convert it to lowercase and then compare it to .txt. Now let's see if any items get added to my list file names. This lets me ignore case, essentially, of the extension. Because I know I'm going to come across files that have the lowercase .txt or uppercase. Let's see what happens. Look at that. They are getting added to my list box. Now, it's kind of a pain to have to, it doesn't expand. Maybe there's a better way. I was hoping if I click on it, it would expand and I could slide down. I guess I can just roll my mouse to find my file name. And let's just pick a file now. Now at this point, am I opening that file?
No.
No. So that's the next thing I want to do, is open the file based on what now is in file name instead of how I was opening it before in the name of the folder, the file number. So let's change our code to just go with the file name it finds. And then we have something that is working with files, reading text files, and of course there's plenty of room for improving of your user interface. There's another step we would like to do. But let's see if we can get this to work. We now know from this I can choose a different file name. What I would like to happen now when I click display is instead of His Mercy is More, file number 1 to be displayed, whatever file is chosen here to be displayed. So right now I click this. It's using these two inputs for the file names. Now that we have learned to fill this with all the file names that we find in the Awana folder, let's go by what's chosen here when we click display. So come back to where I click display. The easiest way to go, come back to the design page. Oh, if you have a problem with that, close it and reopen the design page. Just double click on that display and that takes me to the code that controls the displaying of the text. So put a little comment here. Display the song. Well, what did we do here before? Well, we retrieved the file name with this fancy thing. We reread the folder name, adding the stir path, which we had as a constant up here. So I guess, oh, I just realized I should be using stir path down there in my new code. That's
Also, Mr. Manning,
yeah.
were you able to record adding all of this? Because I missed that last thing.
Oh, it's up on Schoology.
It's on Schoology, okay, because I was looking at it, couldn't find it anywhere.
In the assignment,
Is that under assignment?
look at the assignment description, and then go to the bottom of that file. It has that extra code I gave you.
This one here.
Yep, and then go to the bottom of that file. There's that extra code. You can just copy paste that in,
Okay.
and then how about then I'll help you get that working.
A lot of this stuff I learned from last class.
Okay. Let me do this one fix. Stir path. I should be referring to stir path. I was hard coding it down to my little example to get it working. See right here? I'm going to put stir path there instead of the songs Awana. So let me put stir path concatenated with the Awana folder. And I think I have to have the leading slash. Let me check. Do we have the slash in stir path? No, it's not. Yeah, we do have the trailing slash in stir path. So stir path here, and no, I don't need to add an extra slash. This is, if you're defining constants, you should use them instead of hard coding them there. So stir path now is what I want to use there instead of hard coding the entire path. Because I realized when I was looking at my code, stir path I defined there. I'm going to pause the video and go help Harley a little bit here and get caught up, so you can at least have this code here working, copied and pasted in. So I'll pause the video for now and come back to it. Let's do a pop. Okay, what we want to do now is when I run the program, when I load my file, here I have file names loaded there. I would like this to be loaded when I start my program. Right now I can choose a file. I haven't put the part in where I pay attention to what's chosen here when I display. It's still just choosing this one. So I still have to fix my code to open just that file. I'm going to do that, but first I want this to happen right when my program starts. I do not want it to wait for button 2 for it to populate my file names that are available. Eventually, when I choose a different folder, I will want to repopulate this if I ever chose a different folder. But right now, let's assume my Awana folder is the first one, and when I start my program, I want what happens here to be what happens at the start of my program. So I don't have to keep clicking button 2 to populate that. So let's get that populated at the start of my program. And the easiest way to do that, stop my program, I go to design. Thank you very much. Get back my design page. All you have to do, if you want to control what happens at the start of your program, just double click anywhere on your main form, and that will be what happens on form load. So it's pretty slick. Now on form load, what I want to happen is this code that happens here, where basically I populate my arrays with the items that I read from the folder. So I could copy paste this code. And I think I'll just do that. So I'm just going to copy paste the same code that handles the button to click. Basically, is the code I want to handle. I want that same thing to happen when I load. So before the end sub, I'm just going to copy and I'm going to paste it. Basically, do the same thing. And I can put a little comment. Load the file listing into the GUI. Paste that code. Now, one thing I'm hoping is the form load knows about those buttons being around and that I can populate them. I think it should be okay. I think I can populate lists. I think by the time I get to the form load, those structures, those lists should be there. And I guess I'll find out the first time I run it. There is a chance that on form load, that list file may not be there yet, but I think it's okay. I think we're okay. Let's find out by running. And lo and behold, my file names are loaded on form load. So I don't have to click button 2 anymore. I'm doing that same process of populating file name when I load my program. And now for my display, I need my display now to choose. And I think what I might do is when it loads, maybe select the very first item in that file name to be the default. Right now, this will break if I don't have something selected. And right now, mine is ignoring that file name. So I'm going to come here and fix mine so it actually chooses that file name. And we found out that that's really not hard to do because I know the name of that item is LST folder or LST file name. All right, this guy. He is LST file name. So I just get LST file name, and this is something that I'll put on the video. I helped Harley through this. Is where we populate in that display button, way up here. The file that I want to open has to do with what's in that LST file name. So I'm going to comment how I was doing it before, just for reference. This is a safe thing. If you're doing something significant, comment out the code you did before in case you want to refer to how it was done and how it was working before in case you break it. You can do the same thing. Dim stir file name as string. Oh, get the right names. As string equals, well, the same as what I was doing, but with the stir path and the same folder, stir folder name, and a backslash, and I'll do the continuation just for, and now the file name is going to be the file name currently selected in the LST file name. So the comment here is select or set to the currently selected file. So that would go here, concatenate onto that the name of the file. It's going to be over there in LST file name. Which item? The LST file name dot selected item, the items, selected items, selected index. That's going to be the index of the items currently selected. So this little string right here gives me the name of the currently selected item. Now we realize that something has to be selected in order for this not to break. There has to be some selected index. So I think what I'm going to do on form load is set the selected index to be the 0. I think I can tell it set the list file name to be selected index to be 0. Let's see if I can do that. So I'm going to go down to where I load that file right here, and after that loop is done, let's just go ahead and do lst file name dot set. Can I set? Oh, set selected. Oh, not set bounds. Set selected. And I'm thinking item 0. Select or clear. Let's go ahead, and I think I have to put a true there. That, I believe, will set item 0. I did that, again, just by exploring what lst file name dot gives me, guessing that there ought to be a way to select an item. So I use the autocomplete to help me figure out, and I'm just guessing. I'm pretty sure that set selected is doing what I want as I read what it says here. Sets or clears a selection. And something that also that we remembered I did with Harley when we were working on this, when I click on this, remember down here, the selection mode of that selecting items, we made sure that it is set to be there. Selection mode, we made sure that selection mode is 1 can be selected at a time, not multiple. And so that we see that that was the default. Now let's see if when I run my program, that, look at that, the very first song is what's selected. I click display, and it should, oh, I got a problem. Oh, because we had a problem reading through that file. I will, on the video, I'll show how we fixed this problem, because I realized we had gone, we have a problem here. Oh, I actually had a times instead of an ampersand there. So I'm going to fix a few things just to complete this video, but yeah, you guys can head to lunch and I'll be.
Thank you, Mr.
Remember, reading that file, we came across a blank line that caused us trouble in the %. We didn't realize we had an error until we came to another file. And let me show you finding that error and fixing it. So we run this program. Right now, if I choose the first song, it works fine. Click display. There's my first song. I can go through the verses. Now let's choose another song. Select, display. Seems to be working with that one. A couple verses. Let's try another one. Select, display. Ooh, problem opening that file. Let's try another one. Now it may actually not have been a problem opening the file. Let's go back to that other one where we had a problem on it. See if we can debug what went wrong. It had a problem opening the file, but remember, we're doing a try-catch. We're doing all these things in the try-catch, and I don't think it's actually a problem opening the file. I think we had a different problem. So let's see if we can find out what the problem may have been here, because I know we're inside of a try-catch. So I'm going to click, let's see, I'm going to stop my program and put a try-catch inside of the opening of that file, because remember we had the try catch. There's my try. So when I catch, if there's ever a problem with any of these lines here, it's going to jump to here, no matter what the error was. And I'm pretty sure that I did open the file. I think I'm having a problem here, and the try catch is just saying, oh, you had a problem, and it gives me that message. So what I want to do, and I think the problem is here, I'm going to put a breakpoint there and see what happens. See why I'm getting a try-catch on that particular file. So I'm going to run my program, go to the file I know there's a problem with, select, and click display. And if I hover over this line, I see I have the first part of that song. Okay, I'm going to continue. Now I have the second line. There's the order, continue. There's the equal sign, continue. So it's reading just fine. The line is that, continue. Now the line is that. I know it comes to a problem. I think we have an empty line in there somewhere. Here we have the equal sign. Continue that song. How am I going to know when I have a problem? I know he has a problem with this song, and maybe it's at the very end of the song. I think I can actually watch. Can I right-click watch that variable? Quick add to watch. And there we go. I can actually watch that variable as I continue. See down here, the line is now equal sign. Every time through the breakpoint, as I get to that point, it's showing it. Oh, look at that. Stir line right now is an empty string. And I know that if the length is 0 and I try to do stir line parenthesis -1, I'm going to be trying to read beyond the end of that array. So let's do a step over, step over. And look at that. It took me to the catch. And can I tell what really happened? I guess I can't tell what really happened because I'm catching the problem. Let's see, is there any way to see the error that actually happened? Here, error lists. Nothing showed there. If I do a step, it's gonna get ready to do my message box. I guess I can't find out what actually went wrong. I was hoping that I could find out that the problem was trying to read a length -1 of a string of 0 length. At least I could watch the variable, but I can't see what actually went wrong in that catch, which makes me sad. So no, I was expecting maybe an error to show up of what happened there. So I'm going. Oh, there we go. There, let's see what happened. We got there. Yeah, we do see the index out of range exception in the errors that showed up. There's my immediate window. That showed me my error. So basically, I know the problem is I have an empty line. So what I have to put here is only check for that percentage if it's not an empty line. So I have to do this. If 0 is less than stir line dot length, then, and that goes around this other if here, and if, and it properly indents those. So I have an if around that. Don't do this unless you have a string that's not 0 length. Otherwise, it gives you out of bound exception. Now, it doesn't make sense I would ever have a percentage on only one line, but I'm leaving this test to be as broad as possible. If any line ends with a %, that means the last thing on the line, then skip that line. Don't add it to my lyrics that I'm reading. And I believe that will fix the problem of trying to read that particular song. I'm going to turn off my breakpoint and run it again. And now let's see. This one displays. Choose the next song. This one displays. Goes through the verses. Let's try the third one that was giving us problems before. Select and display. And uh-oh, it didn't do the right thing. We still have something to fix. But we'll stop the video there, and we'll see if we can fix the problem with that particular song. It was skipping something. All right, that'll be the end of the video.